yeah, self-formatting as well as working with tables. That's what we would want to cover today. So I think what we can begin by doing is I can just begin by quickly going over the test that you wrote. Please always remind me if I'm sharing something and you can't see my screen. Sometimes I can see what I'm sharing, but I might just forget to share my screen. So if ever that happens, please do let me know so that I don't share things which you can't see what I'm explaining. Okay, it was a fairly short test, and there were a couple of things in the test which you probably may not have been sure how to do. I did encourage you to try and attempt all questions. I didn't penalize you for things that were in the test which we haven't covered. We are going to cover them in the second half of term, so don't worry too much about that. So you were asked to open the arena whole file or workbook, which is this, and the first question asked you to open it from your, it says candidate drive there, but obviously you were accessing this information online, and it was just a question of downloading that and making sure that you had it visible. And then you were asked for question 2 to open the revenue worksheet. So the revenue worksheet, there were a couple of worksheets at the bottom. Okay, names, 2016 sales. So you needed to select the revenue worksheet. Confirm you can all see my screen. Yes?
Yes, sir.
Good. So you needed to select the revenue worksheet. You lost marks if you answered all the questions and edited this worksheet here, which was names. So the first thing you were being checked to see if you understood is, do you understand that there are different worksheets in a workbook? Okay, we discussed that, I think, right at the beginning, possibly in one of the videos as well. I think it was also explained. So you needed to, first of all, select the correct workbook. So be careful if you didn't make the edits on the correct workbook, you lost a mark. But if you still answered the other things, you obviously were still able to get other marks for the other things. Okay, so you needed to select the revenue workbook. Then you needed to enter 250 into cell C5. So you obviously needed to just select cell C5 and then enter 250. Okay. And then I think in D5, it says enter 275. Okay. So you were just being tested there on being able to enter information into numbers into a certain cell. And then you were asked question 4 to enter 160 into cell D7. Again, that was fairly straightforward. It was just changing the value. In D7, it was 155. So you needed to just edit and change that to 160. Most of you were fine with these questions. Okay. Oh, I think I left out this one, which says on the revenue worksheet, adjust the height of row 6 so that the contents are fully visible. Again, I think everyone got this correct. Maybe one of you forgot or didn't. I think everyone was fine with this one, if my memory serves me correctly. You could have just double-clicked, position your mouse pointer between cells row 6 and 7, double-clicking. If that didn't work, you should have clicked and dragged. I tried to double-click in this instance. It doesn't seem to work, so I'll do the other option of clicking and dragging. Okay. Until it's visible. In some cases, double-clicking works. Here, when I tried double-clicking, it didn't work. So then there's a question which is asking you to calculate the sum in a cell range B4 to B7. I'll show you how to do this. We will come to this as well. If I click on the cell B8, to enter the sum, I need to go to where it says formulas, and then there is this option here. There are a couple of ways to do this. I'll show you one. If I click on where it says auto sum, you will see it highlights the cell range B4 to B7, and there's a formula now in the formula bar which says equals sum B4 to B8. If I press enter, that is how simple it is to enter a formula. Okay, we will come to this. We will come to this. Hello?
So I was taught another way, but yeah.
There are a couple of different ways to do this, actually.
Okay.
There's more than one way. I don't want to dwell on this for too long. There is more than one way to do that, to answer that question. Okay, so I'm just showing you one of the many ways to do it. We will come to formulas and functions and look at it in more detail. So don't panic if you're not sure how to do this. I'm just trying to, oh, okay, here we are. I'm not so sure who was speaking there. Was that Sinead?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. So there are many ways to do it. I've just shown you the one method. Okay, cool. Then it says copy that formula C8 to G8. This is when you use what's called autofill, positioning my mouse pointer at the bottom right. And then if you click and drag, that formula is then copied across. Again, we will do this in more detail when we come to the chapter on formulas. Then enter a function to calculate the average. In the similar way, here where it says average, if I click on the little arrow under formulas there, it shows me the option for average. The only thing I need to change is I want the average to be the average from B4 to B8. So I'll show you. I just need to select the relevant cell range. And then if I press enter, and then I can also copy across that formula. Okay. We will do more work on formulas as we go. Okay, so that's how we would have done that. Then format the cell range to percentage with no decimal. Obviously, I need to select the cell range G4 to G8 there. And then to format it to be percentage with no decimal, I click on the percentage symbol there. Okay, and then if I could just test it by putting a number to see if there are any decimals, there are none. So whatever number appears there, that will be fine. Okay, let's move on. Modify the row height, rows 3 to 14 to 22. We've done this before. That's rows 3 to 14. So I need to select those rows. Okay, and then click and drag to 20. What is it asking me to do to 30? Is it 22.5?
22.5, I think.
22.5, I think it is. Yeah. So it's just adjusting, and then again, I'm just revising this to just make sure that you all see what you should have done in the test. Again, most of you were fine. I think if you had a 70% or higher, I was quite happy. You just need to polish up. I expected more to get everything correct, but just one or two things just that you need to polish up on. Delete row 10, simply selecting the row, right click and press delete. Okay. And then insert a column to the left of column C. Let's go there, right click, insert. Your column appears to the left of column C. And then new column for test was supposed to be the new column for test. In this case, the nice thing was it was already, the column was the wrapping text was already pre-selected, so there was no problem. You just needed to make sure that you inserted that and then typed that. I think a few of you, I don't know whether it was because you missed the question or some of you didn't answer that. So 10 and 11 was just worth 1 mark because it was already, wrap text was already selected. Then merge and center A1 to A1 to F what there? To F1. Merge and center, that's the option there, the button. Merge and center. But here it's saying selected contains multiple data values. It looks like there was a bit of a problem with that question because it's giving me an error, but that's how you normally would merge and center. So I didn't really mark that one, but I'm just showing you what you should have done. I think this is just one of the cells there has maybe this one with an image has got some formatting that's not allowing us to do that. Then to hide row 2, it's just right click and then you select option hide. Okay. Any questions on that test? Then the
Yes,
last thing you were supposed to do was to save it as Rink. So you were supposed to click on File, and then you click on Save As. You could have saved it to wherever, but you needed to change the file name to Rink. And then you just type the name Rink, and then save to whichever location. And then obviously you needed to upload the test. Okay, so that's it for the test. Nothing too difficult. We will come to a bit of work with formulas and functions. Maybe what I can encourage you to do is please go and do corrections like you would for any other test or any other piece of work or assignment. Just make sure you do corrections. If there was anything you didn't do in the test, I've shown you what you needed to have done. Please go ahead and do that. Okay. So if there are no questions, I would like to move on to today's lesson, and there are a couple of things that we want to learn how to do, such as merging and splitting cells, adding borders, adding full color, cutting, copying, deleting, and adding a table, a row, or column. All right, so we want to go through like we normally do. I will demonstrate, but I will also want you to open this same file, have the file available and ready, and make use of the same. Okay, I've got two versions now of Microsoft Excel, but essentially the things are the same in both. So what I want to do now is I want to open the same file in both versions, but it's pretty much the same in both. So I'm now just going to quickly open the format cell file, okay, using 2010 as well as I think this is the 2019 version as well. I managed to get a more up-to-date version. I'll ask you to do the same. If you can just have your documents open, because this is the file that I will want us to work on and access. So let me browse. Format cells is what I want us to look at. Okay, here we are. Yeah, that's it. That's it there. It's locked for editing. Notify. Okay. Let me just select the option enable editing there. Right, so I think we're good to go. So the first thing we want to do is merging cells. You may have seen as I was doing the test, one of the questions when I tried to center a line, I think the error message was can't center a line a merged cell or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it is, but depending on the format of the cell, you sometimes can or you can't do certain things. So what we want to learn is how to merge cells, and you will see that it's the same regardless of which version you're using. So you can merge two or more, or shall I ask Sinead? Sinead, can you just read for me, please, this sentence that says concepts under merging cells? Please just read that for us.
in Excel 2010, you can merge two or more adjacent cells into one cell and display the context of one cell in the merged cell. A title is commonly centered over the data in the worksheet.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sinead. So what we want to do is merge and center, I think, the title A1 through G1, okay? A1 through G1 of the file that we've just used. Okay, let's have a look at it. Okay, it looks to me like this has already been merged and centered. Same with A2. So I don't think there's anything much for us to do there. Yeah, both of these files have already been merged and centered for us. It looks like the editing was done already. Okay, but for instance, maybe I can do the opposite of it. Okay, let's see. Unmerge cells. Okay, say I unmerge these cells, I can do that. Maybe I can ask you to do the same. If I've unmerged those cells, the text is now in just cell A1. If I move across to cell A2, there's nothing. B1, C1, D1, and E1, there is nothing. What I did there is I just clicked on the down arrow and then I selected the option unmerge cells. So to merge and center, so I would ask you to do the same. You can just unmerge those cells since the merging had already been done. Merge and center, it's simply clicking on that button. And if I click on that button, my text is then merged across all of the cells and then it's centered. But if it's not merged, it just appears in one cell. Same for this cell here as well. If I want to merge and center, I simply click on, or is it that I'm working on a different worksheet? Let me just have a look at the other worksheets as well. I've just unmerged those two cells and good. So if you go to the sales worksheet, okay, the 2A1 and A2 has got two headings which need to be merged and centered. Okay, like what I normally do in other lessons, I will ask you in our WhatsApp group to just merge and center across A1 to F1 and A2 to F2. Please, can you merge and center both of those rows across those cells? And then please just send me a WhatsApp so that I can just see that we are together and you're making progress. I'll give you just 3 minutes to each just merge and center the sales worksheet in the format cells file, and then please just post that on our WhatsApp group. What we want to learn, the next thing we want to learn is vertical alignment. Okay, Sinead, if I can ask you to please read the concepts there again. Again, where it says 2010, remember the same applies for other versions as well. Thanks, Sinead. 8.2. Okay. Sinead, perhaps I know there are some network issues today, so let me just read myself and then I'll demonstrate. I hope you can follow along. Okay, in Excel 2019, it's possible to change the horizontal and vertical alignment of cell data. Text is left aligned and values and dates are right aligned by default. In other words, that's the preset, those are the preset alignments. You can use the buttons in the alignment group of the home button to alter the alignment. Values formatted as accounting can only display as right aligned, but it is possible to change alignment on other formatting styles. Okay, so here we have been asked to select cells A4 through to G4 and then to middle align those cells. Okay, A4 through to G4, A4 through to A4 through to G4, okay? And we've been asked to middle align them, okay? So we just go to the alignment section, and then if I click there, that's middle aligning. This is the 2019 version of Excel, and it's exactly the same if I'm using the 2010 version. I simply select the cells like we've done before, and then I simply select the alignment option. Okay. So quite simple there. And if I can ask you to also make sure that you are familiar with that. Splitting cells, we actually looked at it just now. If I want to unmerge cells, I think I showed you this. Once you've merged and centered, you can also split those cells and unmerge them. I did actually demonstrate because initially when I'd selected it was expenses worksheet, which was already merged and centered. If I merge and center this, if I merge and center these two rows or these two cell ranges, I can also undo that or split them if I so wish. The way I do that is I simply click on the down arrow and then I say unmerge, and then those cells are unmerged or split, because what I had done is I had combined a number of cells. So I can also split them or unmerge them if there's some other formatting that I want to work on. Okay, let me move on to the next one, which is adding borders. By using predefined border styles, you can quickly add a border around cells or ranges of cells. You can create a custom border if a predefined cell border does not meet your needs. Okay, so here I've been asked to select cells A4 to G10 and then to select the option all borders. Okay, so A4, selecting A4 to G10. I'm using the selection methods I've learned in the previous lessons. Okay, and there is under the font section, there is a little down arrow there. And if I scroll down and select the option that says all borders, if I select that option, you will notice that all my cells then have a border. I can change that border style if I so wish to make the lines maybe thicker or something like that. So for instance, if I go there, I can go to, let's have a look here. More borders, I think it is. More borders, I think. Let's see, yeah. Here under more borders, I can choose the style for the line that I want, okay? So for instance, here, I could choose a style of border which is a little bit thicker, okay? The one I've selected there is that thicker one, and then if I click OK, I think that should, let's see, okay. If I go to more borders there, and I select this thicker line, I think I need to first of all add it to this sample here, okay, to this sample, okay. Let's see if that changes it. Yeah, you'll notice what I did there is I selected a thicker line and then I selected the option that I wanted and I made my borders thicker, okay. So I can, if I want to, make my borders a little bit thicker, okay. So we've started looking at cell formatting. We haven't managed to make as much progress as I would have wanted. I think we've been affected a little bit by the network, but the work I'm doing with you here, I think is quite straightforward. I can change the line color if I want to as well. I can draw a border. There's a bit more information that's explained in the textbook regarding borders. I would want you to have a look at that. You can also add fill color to cells. So in our next lesson, we will be able to do a bit more work on formatting cells. But I'll ask you as part of your homework, as you prepare for the class, the homework exercise as well, to have a look at this chapter. I don't believe there is anything that is difficult in terms of what is being asked of you. So like we normally do, I've given you these files. We've started looking at formatting cells, and what we were able to cover, we looked at merging and centering information that's in a cell. We also looked at unmerging cell information that's in a cell range. We looked at merging to join them. We also looked at unmerging. Okay, we also looked at center aligning. We can center align text in cells. We can align to the left, align to the middle, align to the right. It's all up to us. But if you're using the accounting format, it'll always be aligned to the right. You can't change that. And then we looked at inserting borders, okay, in today's lesson. And we looked at how to select borders. You just select all borders, up to you. You can also, if you go to more borders, you can make other changes. You can change the color by looking at the option that says color. You can change the thickness of your border. So I'll encourage you just to, for homework, to work through that. Are there any questions before I end the lesson? It's just after 1:45, so I don't want to delay you because you might have another lesson. Okay, thank you very much, everyone.